Well, today it became official. Barnaby Joyce, the former Nationals Party leader, the former Deputy Prime Minister, joined Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party instead. He and Hanson met today in Tamworth before making the announcement on Tamworth Radio. Now, this is huge and a real threat to the coalition because it comes when the polls show One Nation riding high with the support of anywhere between 14 and 18% of the voters, depending on which poll you consult. And Barnaby Joyce now will almost certainly win One Nation another Senate seat at the next election, and maybe even the balance of power, which means both Joyce and Hanson win from this partnership. Joyce gets more influence and power than he has now, being banned to the Nationals' backbench by leader David Littleproud. And Hanson gets a powerful campaigner in regional seats and a politician of vast experience as a minister and deputy prime minister who can keep One Nation going come the day Hanson retires. And that's, of course, all provided that these two very strong-minded individuals do not fall out before then. I talked earlier to them both. Barnaby Joyce, Pauline Hanson, thank you so much for coming on the show. Barnaby, pleasure. You've already explained, well, on this show to me, why you quit the Nationals a couple of weeks ago. Explain now why you have joined One Nation specifically.
Well, I think that One Nation are very authentic in how they deliver a strong message. You can see their position on fighting against intermittent power, in their belief that they support pensioners, not the Paris Agreement, that they are not embarrassed to talk about issues like putting the family at the centre of society rather than allowing other groups, maybe the Teachers Federation of Australia, to determine how your children are brought up, to make sure that Australians have first pick at getting into an Australian home and to not be forced out of the market by excessive immigration, which of course restricts the Australian's capacity to buy its own house, to stand behind the property rights of people in regional areas, and this and so many more. Pauline and One Nation have been leaders in a lot of this, and we've seen that in such things as their initial position on the Voice, against the Voice, their fight against intermittent power and the net zero swindle, their continual fight against the Paris Agreement, which is basically hooking us up to an international agreement at the expense of the poor, expense of those who are struggling with the cost of living. And Pauline has always been a person at leading that, who's had the strength of her convictions so much in a form that at one stage jailed her. God knows why, but you did. And that's, I think, gives me, in serving people, serving the New England, serving Australia, a greater efficacy in that I can be part of a party that can drive a pure message, and we are seeing in the polling that that is a message that is resonating.
We have seen that in just the Resolve poll today, which I'll get to. Pauline Hanson, you know, I got to say, I've seen so many men join your party over the years and then think that they know better than you how to run it. I mean, it's from David Oldfield, and I don't want to rehash all the names since. There've been so many ugly bust-ups. How do you know that Barnaby is going to accept that you are the boss?
Well, I'm going to pull you up on that because it's not about me being the boss. It's about working as a team effort, and this is where these other ones couldn't. David Oldfield did want to run and control the party. As soon as he got elected to Parliament, he then walked away and said, I'll do what I want to do. And, you know, I've had my issues with some of the others as well. They forget it's a team effort. It's not about an individual. It's about working together for the betterment of the country and for the people. Barnaby has proven that. I think the amount of time that he's been in Parliament, he's been a minister over many portfolios. He's actually been a Deputy Prime Minister of the country. He's got a lot to offer, and I believe that we are so much in line with what we agree on. And I think the biggest thing facing our country now is net zero, because we've seen the rising cost of electricity. You've also seen industries, manufacturing, small businesses affected by it. We're going down the gurgle, and this is how Australians feel. Mass migration is another big issue. So, Andrew, I don't claim to have all the answers or know everything. And a lot of people criticise me and my leadership and who I am, or for one thing or another. So it's about growing the team and bringing on other people to enhance what we have to offer, and people will look at One Nation with a different focus, that we can make a difference to this country. And Barnaby is part of that team. It's no, who's the leader and who's better than the other. It's not. There's no egos between either one of us. And I realise that, if we want to change and give people hope out there, there is a future for their future generations, and hope they will have a better way of life. We've got to start working together. We've got to start pushing forward. We have to start holding the Labor and the opposition to account. And that's what we're going to do.
Can I add something to that,
Pauline?
Andrew? It's also, I think
go ahead.
Pauline and I we didn't meet each other yesterday. We've known each other for 20 years. 20 years. And we did make this decision overnight. It was a very considered decision over a long period of time, and I want to thank Pauline for her perseverance and patience with me.
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate that. But
Pauline,
as
can I
you've
just
said,
ask you...
other people have come and gone. Yep.
Look, I'm totally aware that you are going to stand, Pauline, for the Senate again at the next election. That'll give you another 6 years. I don't think this is a party you want to walk away from, having devoted so much time and blood and sweat to it. But can I still ask, Barnaby is a bit younger than you. Is this, in a sense, a guarantee that when you finally do leave politics, One Nation will survive, when you've got someone who's been Deputy Prime Minister a couple of times already in the party?
Andrew, it is a big plus to the party, and I have to admit that. But look, I've got some other great people who are involved in the party. I've got Sean Bell now, who's the Senator for New South Wales. I'm hoping to get my daughter elected. There's other great people that are lining up who will be members of this, of the party, and hopefully elected members of Parliament. And, I'm not going to make that call now. I tell you what, the more you actually ask me about my age and how much longer I've got, the more I'm going to damn well say I've got another 2 terms in me. So keep it going, and I tell people I'm not going anywhere. So get over it.
Well, that brings us to 83, I think, Pauline. But why not?
Well,
if you're enjoying yourself, I guess.
Enjoy myself. It's a dedication, a passion that I have for my country, Andrew. And if they could allow Biden to be in his 80s when he's still in Parliament, walking around looking like that. But I've given my staff a warning. If I end up like a Biden, tap me on the shoulder and tell me to move on. So we've got that lined up already. But don't underestimate me, my ability, my passion, and what I want to do for this country and for my fellow Australians. I've got skin in this game. I am an Australian. I have children and grandchildren, and until I feel it's time to move on and hand over the reins to someone else that I know has the same passion and determination as I have, I will work with my team, but I will actually continue to be leader of this party.
Barnaby, I'm just wondering what you think your role in One Nation now is going to be. I mean, I'm talking practically on the ground, campaigning, people you're targeting. I suspect that the Nationals are going to be freaking. They've only got 4 members in the Senate at the moment. You see where the polls are going. The Resolve poll today said One Nation's got 14%. That's got to be way above where the Nationals are, that you used to lead. Where do you see that contest going between you and the Nationals? What is your role in One Nation going to be?
Well, I'm not going to go out there to attack another political party. I'm going to go out there with Pauline and the rest of the team to support all of Australians and to come up with policies that actually helps Australia get to a stronger position, as strong as possible, as quickly as possible, in light of the circumstances that we see before us. And I'll bring to your attention one of those is the rise of a totalitarian regime in communist China, where we really have to put the rule book aside and decide whether we want to be able to hand a nation securely over to our children, or whether we're going to be indolent and just chase butterflies such as intermittent power and net zero and Paris agreements and waffles such as that. Now, they're the issues we're going to focus on whether a pensioner can pay for their groceries, not whether another person in another party thinks of me. And, you know, I welcome all people into the democratic fray. It's a democracy. It's great to see the clash of ideas. I hope to see the challenge of ideas and not the clash of personalities, because it's the competition of ideas which is what the people on the ground want to hear.
Pauline, I can understand why Barnaby doesn't want to rub salt in the Nationals' wounds. He led the party a couple of times. People barracked for him, you know, gave up their time and their donations for him as a National. So it's not going to say I want to destroy the Nationals now. But where do you think you will use him coming up? Barnaby's a great campaigner. Whatever some people may say of him, is a great campaigner. Where do you expect him to be of most use to you? Given, I mean, like I mentioned, the Resolve poll today, One Nation, record primary vote of 14%, Coalition on a record low of 24%. The Nationals only make up a bit of that. What's going to happen now?
Andrew, what it's about is I'm not out there to destroy like-minded people, Conservatives, but I've had to drag them kicking and screaming to do with The Voice and with net zero. They would never have addressed that, even mass migration, if it wasn't for One Nation. And who knows where this country would be. It's about, you know, having that voice and raising the issues, create debate and bring the people on board with you. Why we think this way. And I don't want to bury it. I want members of Parliament that will express this and voice their concerns. And if the Nationals won't do it, and that's another thing too, they were quite happy to see the supercritical waste go into our great artesian basin, which could have destroyed the water source. They weren't interested in fighting for that. So if they're not prepared to fight for these certain issues for the Australian people, well, that's their issue, not mine. I'm going to keep putting out my policies, what I stand for, what I represent, and what I want for this country. So the people will actually decide who's representing them with truth, honesty, integrity, and the fight in them to get our country back on track.
Just finally, at the top of the show, I've obviously talked about Annika Wells and her travel expenses. Barnaby, you know all about travel expenses and what should be the go and what shouldn't be the go. What do you make of what she's been up to?
I think that she's... Look, Andrew, I listened to Annika, or to the story about Annika, and I thought, oh, this doesn't sound good. And then I changed my mind. I got it wrong. It's an absolute train wreck. It's a train wreck at high speed off a high cliff. And really, everybody has worked out that it's wrong, except Annika. And I think Mr Albanese, the Prime Minister, has got to make a call. Does he stand beside Annika and endorse what's happened? And I'll just give you one clear example. To arrive in Paris and spend, what was it, 500, near 1,000...
1,700 Australian dollars.
Yeah, she did it in 2 hits, though, Pauline. What happened? She could spend $1,000 on dinner and then went out somewhere again and spent another $700. So the Australian people saying, well, hang on, you weren't meeting, you know, Boutros, you weren't meeting, you know, the Pope or the head of the UN. It was you and your staff, and you spent $1,700 for a night on the tiles in Paris. Now, that issue alone is no good. That is no good when there's a person down there at the IGA who can't afford their groceries. They do not accept that. Now, regards to airfares, I don't know. She has to explain that. You know, I can understand why you wouldn't fly economy. I'll be straight. I can understand why you want to be able to get some sleep because you want to hit the ground running. But where were you? Were you in first class? What's going on here? Like it's just there's so many sort of cloudy issues here. But I don't think Annika could make it any worse for herself. It's really for the Prime Minister to decide whether he endorses this or not. And if he endorses that, then stop talking about the cost of living crisis.
Yeah, Pauline, I find it ironic. Here's Jim Chalmers, the Treasurer today, again saying we've got to find savings in the public service, while meanwhile one of the ministers is out, treating the credit card like it was Christmas. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, and it doesn't pass the pub test, and I'm sorry, I'm harder on this. There has to be more accountability, and I've seen this, and especially with the Greens room at Parliament House, $1.6 million for this, and it's gone up from just over $800,000 to $1.6 million, and people are furious about it, and so they should. it has to be more accountability and of the taxpayers' dollars. You know, you just don't go out and pick the money off it. That's hard work of Australians, and especially when people can't give the decent health care that they require. And that's important to me because your health is everything. And we can't give that to ordinary Australians to have those x-rays, mammograms, or have, you know, those operations that they require. I think it's disgusting. I hope that Albanese, and he's a weak leader, to not come out and say this is not good enough. He said, oh, it's the rules. Well, if the rules are the way, then change the rules. Okay, no problem, change the rules. She should actually have to be under scrutiny here, pay back some of that money, or she actually needs to lose her job. There has to be a contract drawn up that you have to be accountable for every dollar of the taxpayers' dollars that you spend here. The rule book is out of date. I'm sorry, it needs to be thrown out.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I think we've had a glimpse of what this new partnership will be. That'll be fascinating. I can tell you what, Barnaby, a lot of your former colleagues now slash enemies will be looking with fascination to see how it all works out. So good luck to you both, and see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.